What are your requirements as a New York employer? You must have a sexual harassment policy under New York law. You must provide annual sexual harassment training under New York law. And there are the employee rights postings that you must put up under both state and federal law. So, with that being said, what else do employers do to try to avoid harassment, discrimination, and liability therefore? Many employers have, it's probably a best practice to have an EEO and more general anti-harassment policy. So don't just have a sexual harassment policy, have a policy prohibiting harassment based on all forms of protected categories, and have a policy saying you will not discriminate based on any protected characteristics. These are relatively standard, but not everyone has them, especially smaller employees or employers. If you are a federal contractor and are subject to affirmative action guidelines, you may have these as required policies. But for the most part, they're not specifically required. They're just universally recognized to be advisable. Many employers will also have written reasonable accommodation policies and or procedures. This obviously relates to disability discrimination issues. And then the next couple of items are probably the biggest differentiators. The New York State requirement of sexual harassment training every year may have had some impact on general anti-harassment training and the frequency that employers provide that. So sexual harassment is just one form of legally prescribed inappropriate workplace conduct. It's certainly not a bad idea to do anti-harassment training that encompasses other protected characteristics. So if that is something that you haven't done as much because you have to focus on the annual sexual harassment training, that might be something to consider. The other form of training that is certainly worth considering is general management training. So whether specific to harassment or discrimination or not, is likely that training of how to be an effective manager will play some role in how likely it is that harassment or discrimination take place or are permitted to continue within a workplace. Or frankly, if nothing else, employees with better managers are probably less likely to pursue claims of harassment or discrimination on average.